The night was warm in Honolulu, the kind of night when the waves whispered secrets to the shore. But inside my home, I heard a different kind of whisper. I froze in the hallway when I caught Anthony's voice. My son, my own flesh and blood by adoption, was speaking with his sister Anna. His words cut sharper than broken glass. The lawyer said once she is in the nursing home, everything transfers to us. We just have to make her sign. My chest tightened. My children, my late husband's pride and joy, were plotting to lock me away like some discarded piece of furniture. They thought I was weak. They thought grief had drained the last drop of fight out of me, but they had no idea who they were dealing with. They had no idea I was not done fighting. Before I continue, I want to pause for just a moment to appreciate each and every one of you watching right now. To my dear subscribers, thank you for being the heartbeat of this channel. To all new and returning viewers who are yet to subscribe, I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It serves as the fuel and energy that powers this channel and keeps these stories alive. Do not forget to engage by sharing your thoughts in the comments and letting me know what you think. Now, let us return to the story. My name is Vivian, and I am 68 years old. I live in Hawaii, in a house filled with memories of my late husband, Daniel. He was the love of my life, my partner in every storm, and the man who built everything we had from the ground up. Together, we adopted 2 children, Anthony, now 36, and Anna, 34. They were my pride, my reason to keep breathing after Daniel passed away 5 years ago. Our home sits high above the ocean cliffs, surrounded by swaying palms and flowers Daniel planted with his own hands. Every corner of it holds his presence. Every piece of furniture, every wall, every garden path, his touch lingers. It is not just a house. It is our legacy. And that legacy was what my children wanted to snatch away from me. I noticed changes in Anthony and Anna after Daniel's death. At first, it was subtle. Missed visits, unanswered calls, a cold distance that widened as months turned into years. But then the pressure began. "Mom, you cannot keep living here all alone," Anna would say, her voice dripping with false concern. "It is too much for you. A nursing home would be safer." Anthony would echo her, his tone sharper. "You are not getting any younger. What if you fall? What if something happens and nobody finds you?" Their words sounded caring on the surface, but underneath was something darker. Their eyes never lingered on me. They lingered on the house, on the land, on the wealth Daniel and I had worked for decades to build. One afternoon, I was tidying Daniel's old study when I noticed a folder tucked beneath a pile of papers. My hands trembled as I pulled it out. Inside were freshly signed documents. My name, my home, my assets, all carefully marked for transfer. At the bottom, I saw Anthony's signature as a witness and Anna's handwriting in the margins. My knees buckled. The walls spun around me. My children had prepared everything. They were not waiting for me to grow too frail. They were orchestrating my downfall already. As I clutched the papers to my chest, the waves outside seemed to roar louder, crashing against the cliffs. My tears burned hot. But beneath them, something else stirred inside me, something fierce, something unbreakable. They thought they had cornered me. They thought I was powerless. But they were about to learn that this old woman still had a fight left in her. And that fight was only just beginning. The documents burned in my hands like fire. I folded them quickly, slid them into a drawer only I knew about, and sat on the edge of Daniel's old chair. His scent, faint, like aged cedar and the ocean breeze, still lingered in the wood. I whispered, "Daniel,
They want everything we built, but I will not let them destroy your legacy, I promise you." That evening, I acted as though nothing had changed. I greeted Anthony and Anna with the same weary smile they had grown used to. Anthony brought over takeout, setting it down on the kitchen counter without even asking how I was doing. Anna fussed about the dishes, glancing around the house with the same hungry eyes that had betrayed her. Inside me, though, something had shifted. I was no longer a mother leaning on hope. I was a woman preparing for war. As they spoke, my mind wandered back to the first day Daniel and I brought Anthony home. He had been only 5 years old then, wide-eyed and shy, his little hand gripping mine with such trust, it melted my heart. 2 years later, Anna arrived. She was 7, fiery and stubborn, with a laugh that filled every room. Daniel had always said, "Vivian, children are not born of us alone. They are given to us, and it is our duty to love them with all we have." And love them we did. We poured our hearts into giving them the best. Schooling, holidays, family dinners under the Hawaiian stars. Every scar they carried from their early childhood, we tried to heal with patience and care. I had thought our bond was unbreakable, but standing there in the kitchen, watching them bicker lightly over who should clean up, I realized that my love had not been enough to keep greed from infecting their hearts. Over the next few weeks, I noticed the cracks in their facade widening. Anthony's phone buzzed constantly with unknown numbers. I caught him whispering in corners, his voice clipped and tense. When I asked who it was, he brushed me off with a laugh. Anna, on the other hand, had developed a new obsession with my health. She brought vitamins, scheduled doctor's visits without asking, and even spoke to a nurse about evaluating me. "It is for your safety, Mom," she would say sweetly, but her eyes betrayed impatience. At night, I lay awake in my bedroom listening to the rhythmic crash of the waves outside, but instead of peace, I felt hunted. My children were circling me like sharks in the water, waiting for the right moment to strike. I began to play their game. Every phone call I overheard, I scribbled down the details. Every careless word, every hint of their scheme, I recorded in my journal. I quietly took photos of the documents I had found, emailing copies to a hidden account. I was careful not to let them sense my awakening. To them, I remained the fragile widow, vulnerable and easily led. But beneath that mask, I was sharpening my claws. One day, Anna slipped up. She had left her laptop open on the dining table while she ran out to take a call. My heart pounded as I glanced at the screen. There it was. An email chain with a realtor. My home had already been listed as coming soon on the market. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the laptop. The betrayal was complete. They were not planning to steal my future. They were already selling it. I retreated to my garden that evening, Daniel's roses blooming under the fading sunset. Tears streamed down my cheeks, watering the earth. How could they? I whispered into the wind. The memory of Anthony's small hand in mine, of Anna's laughter echoing across the yard, clashed violently with the cold truth I now held. But the grief was soon replaced by resolve. Daniel had trusted me to guard what we built, and I knew he would want me to fight. My children had chosen greed over love, so now I would choose justice over silence. That night, I slipped into Daniel's study once again, locking the door behind me. I pulled out the folder of documents and the evidence I had gathered. My heart raced as I spread everything across the desk. Then, hidden in the very back of the drawer, my fingers touched something I had never noticed before. A sealed envelope with Daniel's handwriting on it. My breath caught. I whispered, "Daniel, what did you leave me?" As I slid the envelope into my trembling hands, I knew that the fight ahead was about to take a new turn. The envelope trembled in my hands. Daniel's handwriting was firm, deliberate.
the same way he had signed every love letter he had ever written me. I broke the seal with care, almost afraid of what truth it might hold. Inside was a single letter, dated 2 months before his passing. "Vivian," it began, "if you are reading this, it means I am gone. I need you to know that I never trusted the world to protect you. That is why I made sure everything we built cannot be taken without your consent. I left instructions with Michael, our attorney. If anyone ever tries to force you out of the house or claim your assets, Michael will know what to do. Trust him." Tears blurred my vision. My Daniel! He had known. Somehow, deep in his heart, he had sensed this storm. Michael had been Daniel's attorney for decades, a sharp man with a kind smile who lived just a few blocks away. The next morning, I called him. When he opened his door and saw me standing there with the letter in my hand, he did not look surprised. Instead, he ushered me inside, poured me a glass of water, and said, "Vivian, I knew this day might come. Daniel asked me to protect you. Tell me everything." For the first time in weeks, I felt the heavy weight on my chest ease. I laid out the documents, the emails, and the evidence I had gathered. Michael listened intently, his jaw tightening with each word. "They are already trying to sell the house," I whispered. "They want me in a nursing home. They want it all." Michael leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "Then it is time to show them that you are not as powerless as they think. Daniel set up protections you do not even know about, but first, we need more proof of their intent." That afternoon, I reached out to my neighbor, Margaret, a retired school teacher who had lived next door for 20 years. She had watched my children grow up and loved Daniel like a brother. When I told her what Anthony and Anna were planning, her eyes filled with both rage and sorrow. I always thought they were a bit entitled, but this is evil, Vivian. Whatever you need, I am with you. Margaret became my eyes when I could not be present. She noted who came and went from the house when I was away, and even overheard Anthony on the phone one evening, bragging that the old woman will not last much longer. Every piece of information was fuel. Every careless word my children spoke was another weapon I tucked into my arsenal. But at night, when I was alone in bed, the pain returned. The sound of the waves was no longer soothing. Instead, it was like the steady beat of a war drum in the distance. How could the children I had cradled, the children whose nightmares I had soothed, whose birthdays I had celebrated, plot against me this way? Love does not just vanish. I knew in my soul I had given them everything, but greed had consumed them whole. I would lie awake and whisper to Daniel's picture on the nightstand, "They think I'm too old, too weak." But they forgot whose wife I was. They forgot I am still your Vivian. The breaking point came one Sunday evening. Anthony and Anna arrived together, carrying their usual fake smiles. After dinner, Anthony cleared his throat and looked me straight in the eye. "Mom, we need to make decisions about your future. The house is too much for you. The nursing home we visited last week is ready for you to move in. All we need is your signature." Anna chimed in quickly, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "It will be so much easier for you, Mom. You won't have to worry about anything." I set down my fork, my hands steady though my heart pounded. For weeks I had played the role of the fragile widow. Tonight, the mask came off. "You already put the house on the market," I said coldly. The silence that followed was deafening. Anthony's face drained of color, while Anna's fork clattered onto her plate. "You think I don't know?" I continued, my voice sharper than it had been in years. "I know about the documents. I know about the realtor. I know about your plan to lock me away while you take everything your father and I worked for." Anthony stammered, "Mom, it's not what you think."
"Don't insult me," I snapped. "I am old, but I am not blind. I am not deaf, and I am certainly not stupid." I rose from my chair, the strength of Daniel's spirit burning through me. I walked to the cabinet in the study and returned with the envelope in my hand. "This," I said, holding it up, "is from your father. He knew this day would come, and thanks to him, you will soon find out that your little plan is about to collapse." Their faces twisted, shock, fear, and anger flickering all at once. Anthony tried to speak, but I raised my hand. "No more lies, no more games. The woman you thought you could bury in a nursing home is about to bury your betrayal instead." And with that, I turned and walked out of the room, leaving them in stunned silence, their world beginning to unravel.
The silence in my home that night was heavier than the humid Hawaiian air. I could hear Anthony pacing in the living room, muttering under his breath, while Anna whispered frantically on her phone. They were scrambling, trying to find a way to undo what I had just revealed. But I no longer felt fear. I felt strength. For the first time since Daniel's passing, I felt like his partner again, not just his widow. His letter in my hand was more than ink on paper. It was a shield, a weapon, and a promise that I was not alone. The following week, I walked into Michael's office with all the evidence I had gathered neatly organized in folders. Anthony and Anna sat there already, their faces smug, believing their charm and manipulations would win Michael to their side. But the moment I handed Daniel's letter to Michael, I watched the color drain from their faces. Michael cleared his throat and spoke with calm authority. Daniel placed his assets into a trust before his passing. Vivian is the sole trustee. No one can force her to leave this house or transfer ownership without her direct consent, and any attempt to manipulate her into doing so can be challenged as elder abuse. Anna's mouth fell open. "That cannot be true." "It is true," Michael interrupted firmly. "And I will remind you both that trying to sell this property behind Vivian's back is not only immoral, it is illegal. I have already contacted the realtor and had the listing removed. If you continue down this path, the law will not be on your side." Anthony slammed his fist on the table, his face red with rage. "She cannot keep this forever. She is old. She is weak. This house deserves to be ours." Michael's voice grew cold. "You forget yourself, Anthony. This house was built by your father and mother. It was their love, their sweat, their sacrifice. It is not yours to take. If you wish to inherit, you should have tried to be worthy of it." The meeting ended with Anthony storming out, Anna trailing behind him with tears in her eyes, but the damage to their reputations had already begun. Michael wasted no time filing the necessary reports, and soon enough, whispers began to spread in our community. People who had once admired Anthony and Anna now looked at them with suspicion and disappointment. Margaret told me one afternoon, "Everyone knows now. They thought they could steal from their own mother. Shame like that never washes away." Anthony lost his job within months. His employer wanted no association with someone under investigation for fraud. Anna's friends distanced themselves, unwilling to be linked to her disgrace. As for me, I stayed in my home, tending to Daniel's garden and watching the sun dip into the Pacific each evening. The roses he planted bloomed brighter than ever, as if even the earth was proud of the battle I had fought. Do not misunderstand me. It still hurt. Every time I looked at Anthony and Anna's childhood photos, I felt a twist of sorrow. I had loved them as my own, and I still do in a quiet corner of my heart, but I could no longer deny the truth. They had chosen greed over love, and in doing so, they had lost the privilege of my trust. One evening, I sat by the ocean, the waves rolling steady beneath the setting sun. I held Daniel's letter in my hands and whispered,
We did it, my love. They tried to take everything, but I stood my ground. I hope I made you proud. The tears that fell this time were not of grief, but of release. I had faced betrayal, I had faced greed, and I had faced the loneliness of standing against my own children. But I had also discovered something deeper: resilience, the strength to rise even when the people you love try to bury you. To anyone listening, let my story be a warning and a reminder. Trust is a fragile gift. Betrayal may come even from those you raised, those you gave your heart to. But never forget, your worth is not theirs to decide. Your legacy is not theirs to steal. Stand firm. Fight back. Because sometimes the greatest strength is not in what you build for others, but in what you refuse to let others take from you. Thank you so much for staying with me through this journey. If this story moved you, please take a moment to drop your thoughts in the comments. I truly want to hear from you. Do not forget to like this video, share it with someone who might need the encouragement, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these stories alive, and I can't wait to share more with you.